Hello, everyone. Welcome to Seed to Sequoia. I'm your host, Alex Shartzis. On today's coaching snack, I thought I'd reflect on our episode last week with Josh Posamentier from Congruent Ventures, talk a little bit about what's coming up this week for us, and ask you a couple questions about what your plans are for the week. So let's dive in. Last week, Josh Posamentier, general partner at Congruent Ventures, joined us. He focuses on climate tech and early stage and had a lot of really great insights. Some of those insights were specific to the climate tech industry. As he put it, some of his companies are just like any other SaaS companies, and others are very, very different. So listen if you're in climate tech, because there are a lot of insights for anybody doing climate specific work. A lot of what we talked about was talking to customers, and early on, the importance of feedback from the sales team to the product team, and how founder-led sales can really impact that. By being a founder doing sales, you're able to really tighten that feedback loop and understand what's resonating with customers and what their real problems are. He talked a lot about trust, especially around building trust in fundraising, both in his own fundraise for his venture firm. They just raised another 9-figure fund, but also in doing what you said you would do when you talk to investors. So if you tell an investor that you're going to go execute and do a certain thing, and you come back 9 months later and you haven't done that thing, and you don't have good reasons for it, that starts to erode the trust and also hurt your chances of being able to continue to fundraise. Another super interesting thing he talked about was the transition from founder-led sales to a sales team, and how a lot of technical founders really think about that as a process, needing a game plan or a playbook, needing the infrastructure like a CRM. But really, it's about the people. And I think that's easily lost, that it doesn't matter how great your playbook is. If you hire the wrong first salesperson, or you hire a sales leader when you needed a player coach, you can end up really failing. And it doesn't matter how great your playbook is. If the people are the wrong people, they're just not going to be successful. So really interesting insight on the transition from founder-led to professional sales. On that note, he also talked about the risk of scaling too early. So if you try and hire up a sales team before you've really found product market fit and understand what your customers are buying and why they're buying it, you end up doing a bunch of things that are not good, such as spending a lot of money, wasting a lot of time, and possibly even polluting the market. So you're making all this noise in the market with your sales and marketing that are perhaps not on target, right? And so that can hurt you over the long run as well. Finally, we talked about board members, what to look for, how to manage them, and spent a lot of time again throughout talking to customers and how important that is. 3 things that you might want to work into this week in your life are things he talked about wanting all founders to do, or wishing all founders would do. One was sending a regular investor update. He thinks monthly is great. I've always personally done monthly. I tried weekly once and biweekly, and that was just too often. Nothing changed. People didn't read it. Monthly is a good cadence. Quarterly is also okay. But that gives you the opportunity to keep your investors informed. Always front run bad news, never bury it. And that was the second piece of advice, was to be upfront. So whether that's with your team or with your investors, you don't want to hide the bad news that again erodes trust and makes your life harder in the long run. And his final piece of advice was, especially for technical founders, to talk to 100 customers. This was Steve Blank's advice years ago, and he thinks it still applies really well. And when you talk to them, listen. It should be a conversation. You're not leading them. You're not trying to get the answers you want out of them. You're trying to not trying to pitch them. You're really conversing with them and trying to understand what their needs are. And you might have an idea that's close to something that they need, but not quite the thing that they actually need. And if you listen, you might find out that product that is what you were looking for. So with that, when you think about your company and what you're doing, a couple thoughts, same as last week. What did you get done last week? Right? Every week is a good milestone, just to think about, what did I set out to do and did I get done? So reflect for a moment on what did you get done last week. And it only has to be 3 or 4 big things, right? You probably ran payroll because it's the end of the month. You probably did some stuff that didn't really advance your business. It was just stuff that you had to get done. But look through that to the bigger things that are leading to your goals. Like, what did you get done that was really advancing the larger project of your company? And then looking forward to the next week, what are you going to get done this week? And again, I always recommend being reasonable, right? You don't need to click on Gusto or Rippling or whatever your payroll provider is. Like that kind of doesn't count. What are the two or three big things you're going to get done this week, and move the ball forward on your journey? So with that, I'll leave you to your Monday. This coming Thursday's episode has a great guest, an old friend of mine, actually a college classmate, Sean Burns. Sean was the founder of Flurry, which was the leader in mobile analytics at the beginning of iPhone and Android. He really created a category. He is too humble to say that himself, but Sean's impact and Flurry's impact on the mobile ecosystem was massive. And he then later started Outlier, which was an early AI company that helped companies deal with all the data that their analytics were throwing off so they could find outliers and detect, when a landing page was broken or when something wasn't working that should have been working. He'll be talking about those experiences. And now he's an investor and has been an investor for many years now and has a lot of great advice. He even advises a few founders who are lucky enough to have him as a sort of retained advisor. So hear that episode this Thursday, wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, all the places. And until then, have a great Monday and a great week. I hope you have a productive and a fulfilling week on your journey.